It was in room 16, I'll never forget that.
I had felt totally fine. I just figured it was going to be like any other day. I was going to walk into the emergency room and see why I was short of breath, and no idea it was going to turn into what it did.
She was talking, she walked in on her own power. She didn't appear ill at the time. But I remember that she had told me one specific thing.
I was born with a congenital heart defect. I had my first surgery at 9 days old. And then I had another surgery at 14.
She had something that she was born with called a coarctation of the aorta. And so I thought, you know, she's coughing, she looked like she's breathing a little bit faster than I would think. And so we're gonna go ahead and get a CAT scan. The next thing I know, I was in a different room and I hear Brant, the nurse, screaming to get in the room. And I run into the room and I see her with a pink bucket and basically a tube of blood coming from her mouth into the bucket and the color just draining out of her face.
I had a really, really bad pain, kind of a tearing pain in my chest, and I just knew it was going to be really bad.
She probably lost much more than half her blood volume in her body within minutes. I knew that something between her aorta had broke because there's nothing else that could produce that much blood flow in that short period of time. And when your aorta breaks, the chance of you surviving approaches zero. And I immediately told the clerk to call Gary Allen, who is our cardiothoracic surgeon. And I walked back in the room and realized we still had no IV access. We rushed to place what's called an intraosseous device, or an IV basically into the bone, in order to start giving medications, blood products, whatever else we needed.
One of my wishes was to have my boyfriend called.
She kept saying, "Can you call my fiance? Can you call my fiance? He's a nurse on the ICU." I remember her saying that over and over. And the nurses kept saying, "No, no, no." And then I said, "No. You need to call him," because I thought this is the last wish.
I was sound asleep because I work nights, so it took multiple phone calls. Dr. Allen's PA calls me and tells me to just park the car in the ambulance bay and leave the keys in it. I was like, well, she's dead. There's no possibility that they're going to have me park in the ambulance bay if she's still alive. It's just, she's dead.
She was staring death in the face, and the reality was she stayed incredibly calm. And I immediately told the nurses, no IV fluids. I want her blood pressure as low as possible, because the only hope for her to survive from here to the operating room is if her blood pressure stays so low that the pressure on whatever broke open closes itself. And within about 2 to 3 minutes after we got IV established, we got emergency blood products, she stopped bleeding. Now again, the line that I put in, you could not do the specific CAT scan you did, like anywhere, it's not made for that. And I remember arguing with the CAT scan tech, and they're like, we can't do it.
It was so much going on. I just know when I was in CT, I could hear Dr. Patina yelling because I couldn't get an IV in me.
I remember looking at one of our nurses, Christine, and I said, you have 30 seconds to put an IV in her. And lo and behold, Christine gets an IV in a person who has almost no blood, who they couldn't get an IV in to begin with, and she gets it within 30 seconds. And so we do the CAT scan, and I see this massive aneurysm that had essentially ruptured into one of her breathing tubes on the left side. And the amazing part, even to this day, not that she stopped bleeding, but that she did not drown. Most people would drown with 1/10 of that volume. And we get her back to the ER. As we're working a stabilizer, the cardiothoracic surgery and the team comes in. He realizes that this is a very big deal.
She was dead. There was no possibility she should have survived. I'm a CVICU nurse. I understand what's going on there, and the fact that she's still alive is purely a miracle. There's no question about it. Everything just fell exactly into the right spot at the right time. The hospital had what they needed, got everything done the way they were supposed to. The best care that she could possibly ever ask for.
The hospital relies on the foundation and the community support in order to do the very thing that we did for Jeannie. It relies on those dollars, the volunteerism, and the prayers of the individual and the community in order to have good equipment such as CT scanners, have bedside ultrasound that we use significantly during her specific case, have the ability to maintain blood products, and have the nursing staff that is not just a warm body there, but that is a highly skilled nurse. The ability to have board certified emergency physicians all the time. Those are things that can't be taken for granted. Every single thing was needed to save her life. And for those of you who are actively involved in supporting Florida Hospital Watermen, I cannot thank you enough.
I was the person that everybody had to do the right thing for them to save me, and they all did. Right place, right time, right people. If one thing had gone wrong, I wouldn't be here.